Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for clicking on the video. So this video, I'm a little behind on this one. You know, the NBA season started, Tuesday? And the Celtics played, got their rings and everything like that. I wanted to kind of record this right after, but it's still relevant, trust me. Now, I want to talk about kind of what I saw. Yes, it's opening night. You can't go too crazy into what you see on the court, but there are still things I wanted to point out, both from the Celtics side and also from the Knicks side. I'm going to try to do these probably after most games, do a video, give you my thoughts on the game. And we'll just have some fun with it as the Celtics are trying to go back to back. So with that, look, we got to start with the banner celebration. Like, it's, for me, been a Celtics fan since I can remember, as a kid growing up in Boston. So I was kind of after like the dominance of the 80s and all that. I watched it like ESPN Classic, so I understood a lot of it, but I didn't experience it. Went through the 90s. The 90s were up and down. Got some tragedy. Reggie Lewis, I remember, I think it was that same series, losing in game 5 on a buzzer beater from Alonzo Mourning. There were the MO Card days, Rick Pitino, all that. You get to 2008, Doc Rivers, you have Paul Pierce, they bring in KG and all those guys. They get it done. Automatically, Celtics fans are thinking, well, you have this group together, you're going to win multiple. Didn't happen. Whether it was KG's knee injury, Perk had a knee injury, Pierce, Ray Allen got older, didn't happen. Then you leave that group, trade them to Brooklyn, kind of go back into the down times where had some good teams but not good enough to win a title. Then last year, despite a lot of the narratives that were out there, diminishing their playoff run, talking about they weren't tested, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they got it done. So this picture that you see here, that shows the work that went in, and you got to point to Brad Stevens. More importantly, he started started on the sideline as the coach, moved to the front office. A lot of questions about whether or not he'd be able to do that part of the job. Well, here we are several months later, and because of his moves and his vision for the team, they were able to experience this. Obviously, it would have been nice to see Porzingis actually playing the game, but he was there to get his ring. He was definitely a big part of what they did last year. And obviously, it's got you wondering, can they repeat, which is something we haven't seen in the NBA in a while. But it's the same core as we saw last year. So this shot was a great way to start the night. And then we get into the game. So with the game, you got to look at, I'm going to start with the Celtics. The Celtics win at 132-109. There were 3 things that stood out to me. The talk about Tatum, once again, going back to past postseason, talking about what's wrong with his shot, what's wrong with this. He's not playing at a top 5 level. Maybe we're overrating him, all that. We saw the videos in the offseason, him working on the jumper. Once again, 1 game only, 37 points. He shot immaculate from the field, especially from 3. He was 7 for 10, and the jump shot looks, I guess, closer to what he was early in his tenure with the Celtics. It didn't have the hitch, the elbow thing. It didn't look disjointed. His shot was pure looking, in rhythm, smooth, and because of that, the shot was falling for him. That's encouraging, because if he stays consistent with that shot, obviously not going to shoot 70% from 3 every night, but if he stays consistent with that, this team is going to go far once again. Second thing, they tied the opening night NBA record for threes made. They made 26 29. Sorry, they made 29. I think 26 was some other record, but 29. No, 26 was like the opening night record. Then they got to 29, which was just an NBA record in general. They proceeded to go like 0 for 11, trying to break the record. But at that point, the game was well out of hand and everything like that. Jaylen Brown talked about that after the game, that they were hunting down that three to set the record, which understandable. But they showed last season, a lot of people said they shot too many threes. It's a staple of what they are. They have guys who are capable of doing it. And my biggest thing is, as long as it's part of the flow of the offense, I don't care. Against the Knicks, it was the flow of the offense. A lot of them were wide open threes, which if you have a wide open shot in the NBA, you should take it. Good amount of them came off of, switching the ball from one side of the floor to the other. They came from dribble penetration and kicking out. Like, it was a work of art offensively for the Celtics team. Once again, encouraging. That's a lot of what we saw in the playoffs. Obviously, Tatum had a different role because his shot wasn't falling necessarily in the playoffs, but he was more the facilitator, which he still did. Because even with the 37 points that I mentioned, he had 10 assists. So he's now giving you best of both worlds. That's scary for the league. Third thing, Jaylen Brown. I am loving this. I don't even know what to call it, but he basically was out there. He was playing on. I'm trying to think who was guarding. I think he was guarding like Hart or Bridges or something like that early in the game. Brunson got into a bit of a rhythm, even though the game was well out of hand. Jaylen Brown kind of switched into the Luka mode and started covering Brunson like three-quarter court, covering him in half court, and made it tougher on Brunson. I like these moments and these streaks where Jaylen Brown, steps up, takes on whichever guy is kind of doing well, and shuts them down a bit. I'm interested to see, is that something that carries over a lot of the season? Because like I said, in the finals, he did it. He did it to Luka, shut Luka down most of that series. Well, I'm not going to say shut him down, but he made it harder on Luka than obviously Luka would have wanted. Luka's just a gifted offensive player. We know that. But yeah, just watching him, because Brunson was one of, they got blown out. Like the 23-point deficit for the Knicks, it was a lot larger than that. Like, this was more of a 30, 35-point type of win for the Celtics. But I'll talk about the Knicks here in a second. I just love this new, alpha type personality from Jaylen Brown. After the game, he's one of the first ones that the media talks to. He, like I said, is taking leadership on the court. And this is something that, Brad kind of brought up with the whole trading of Marcus Smart, was to allow Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum to take on a bigger role. Tatum, we even saw against the Knicks as well. He was jawing with the bench and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that either. But for Tatum as a guy who can come across as kind of meek or shy in some cases, it was good seeing him kind of show some dominance there. So that's what I have on the Celtics. The three things that really caught my eye. A fourth one would be balance. All five starters were in double figures, and I believe Hauser off the bench was in double figures as well. 6 guys in double figures, you'll take that every night. Now for the Knicks. Was it all bad? No. I thought Brunson played well. Brunson got to the rim a couple times on Holiday or in a switch with Horford. And I think once that happened a few times, that's when Jaylen Brown kind of took over. He, didn't have the same effect when Jaylen Brown was guarding him. But he's clearly going to be their best player once again this season. I don't know if necessarily they'll go as far as he can take them, as I'll get to in a second here. But he had a good night on a night where there was a lot bad with the Knicks. Miles McBride, I thought he played really well. He shot really well from the floor. I think he only missed a shot, maybe. He might have gotten perfect, but he has to play better. Obviously, DiVincenzo's gone. McBride is now the guy coming off the bench. I know there's going to be some talk about McBride possibly should be a starter over a couple of people who are starting, which I'll touch on in a second. But I feel like McBride probably should be that sixth man for them. He comes in, he can knock down the three, he can create off the dribble a little bit, he can pull up in mid range. Like, he's a really good offensive player for a Knicks team that I think, depending on lineups that are out there, they definitely need that element with this team. So I thought McBride was really good. Cat started off a little rough. He started off trying to find his way both offensively and defensively. I think defensively he was worse overall on the night. He looked lost at times. He, didn't close out on certain shooters and everything like that, gave them open looks. But offensively, he turned it on kind of second quarter on. He got into some post-ups, got into some face-ups, got into some he knocked down a couple of threes. So I think he showed the potential of what he could bring to the offense, which I feel like we kind of knew that. My thing is defensively. And like I said, defensively, he didn't really meet the bar that I'm assuming Knicks fans should have for him. Like, they brought him in as a big man, Miles Robinson is his name. He's their big man, hurt a lot. So Cat gives them height. They still lost the rebounding battle against the Celtics. That's a problem. And that's where I said before, the Hartenstein loss is a big deal for them, but we'll see how they can kind of recover from that. We'll see how the season plays out. So those three, I feel like Brunson had a more complete game start to finish. I thought McBride, only because he's coming off the bench when he was out there, was good. Cat started off slow, got better from second quarter on. I don't have a graphic for these two, but OG Anunoby and Miles Bridges are concerns. Once again, as a Celtics fan watching the Knicks, that would be my concern for you Knicks fans. OG Anunoby, I know they gave him that money. I know Knicks fans love him. I've never been high on OG Anunoby's game offensively. Watching that game against the Celtics, he kind of proved why. He's not that good of a three-point shooter. He'll knock down a couple for you, but he doesn't really threaten defenses. I think off the dribble, he's not that good. So I'm going to wonder at times, is he just going to be the fifth wheel out there and they're kind of running offense around him? Or what kind of role or what kind of positions do they put him in? We'll have to see what Thibodeau and his coaching staff does. If I maybe gave a word of advice, could Anunoby do a bit of what Mazzulla put in for Drew Holiday, kind of run the baseline off of and play off of some of these guys? Maybe. Once again, we'll see what they do. Miles Bridges, if it wasn't for the second half, you would be getting flamed all throughout this. But it's the fascinating part with Miles Bridges is he starts the game with that trash jumper that we all saw a video from, like, over, I guess during a practice or something. He debuted it. It was trash. Goes in at halftime, magically fixes it, and shoots with the form that we've seen Phoenix, Brooklyn. He actually made a couple of shots. He made some turnarounds. He looked more confident offensively. We saw him dribble drive a few times. So when I was watching it, I was actually doing a watch along over on Integrity Sports Network. It seemed like the first half, he was in his head. And his teammates weren't necessarily getting him the ball because they saw what was going on. But in the second half, he was getting the ball, making stuff happen. So I guess for the Knicks, they should be encouraged by the second half. My thing would be, so when they play again, I think they play Friday, will he start off like first half with that jumper magically coming back? Or is he put that aside and is just going to roll with what he's kind of rolled with? And if he does, he and the team should be better off for it. We'll see. So that's kind of what I had. Those are my thoughts from game one. I was thoroughly encouraged by what the Celtics did. I think the Knicks, yes, they built this team up. They made these moves all with their sights on stopping the Celtics or slowing them down. I didn't buy into it before watching game one. I still don't see how it happens, but a lot of things can happen. 81 games are left. You know, they could look like a well-oiled machine by the time we get to June, or they might be matchup dependent come the playoffs as to whether or not they even get another shot at Boston. So, yeah, that's what I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. Greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to try to do these for as many Celtics games as I can, because I do watch a lot of the games. But obviously, if I have something going on I can't watch it, I won't come in here and try to fake it with you. So if I watch the games, you'll get a reaction from me. But yeah, if this is your first time to the channel, appreciate you coming in. Like I said, hit the like button. Go ahead and follow or subscribe if you are inclined to. Really appreciate it. But I'm going to get out of here. You be safe. God bless. I'll see you next video. All right.